Today we're going to check out 5 brand new knives that I have in. So this is just a first impressions, and we're going to start off with the Bestech Nine. I do not know why it's named the 9, a number 9. I don't know why. It's not 9 inches. It's close. It's 8.5 inches overall with a 3.78 inch blade. So it is pretty close to 9 inches, but it is not. So I'm not sure, but hey, whatever. The Bestech number 9. Now, I will say though, I actually like this thing quite a bit. I love how slim it is for how long it is. It makes for a knife that has a lot of reach, and it's a great utility cutting style blade, somewhat of like a modified sheep's foot, a lot of cutting edge there. So you're gonna have, you're gonna be able to generate some power with these ergonomics and everything. So it's, as far as use goes, this thing would be a great user. Blade steel is M390 steel, titanium frame locks, titanium mill pocket clip, and back spacer. Very smooth. This thing is hydraulic. I really like this action. Rather than it just slamming shut when you disengage it, it kind of floats down there, kind of like a Shirogorov, which I absolutely love. It's more of a control drop, kind of like, it's on hydraulics or something. It's very smooth. You feel no bearings rolling or anything like that, just absolutely smooth. The flipper tab is a great flipper tab. Not too big, not too small, plenty of jimping, nice sharp jimping, and the detent rockets it out there. So great detent, great opening and closing action. The cutout for the lock bar, I usually prefer a little bit more room, but they did chamfer both edges and it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's bad. There's a difference between what I prefer and it being negative or being difficult or me not liking it. It's fine. The designer is Rafal Berzeski. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. T8 hardware all the way around, even on the clip. Love to see that. Even on the steel lock bar insert, which is great. There is milling on the inside, especially on this side. Well, I think it's only on this side. Heavy milling on this side, which does bring down the weight. And to me, this is not very heavy, but very ergonomic for basically every single blade or every single direction you want to cut. It's going to do very well. I have very little nitpicks, but one nitpick is the cutout for the lock bar relief is on the outside and the clip lands right on that corner, which I do not like. I would prefer the clip to land up here or something so that it's not right here. They did chamfer the edge of this on both sides, so that's good, and it's not horrifying or anything like that. It's not like it's a really bad clip or anything. I just think it could be better if it didn't land directly right there. And then the next thing is sharpen control and plunge grind. The plunge grind is very close to the edge at the end of the plunge grind. So it starts here, but it doesn't end until about right there. So that's really close to my edge. So when I sharpen it, I'm definitely going to get a smile, especially after I lower back the edge angle. Their edge angle is a high edge angle. It's very sharp, but it's about 14 thousandths behind the edge with their edge angle. Once I put my own edge on it and lower back the edge angle to like 17 degrees per side, the bevel will be larger and it will be a little bit thicker behind the edge, but it's still, it's relatively slicey behind the edge regardless. So yeah, very little nitpicks. I actually like that one quite a bit. Let's get to the next one. Next is the Kizer K-b244. I'm sure it has a regular name. Kubi's been naming their knives recently, but this thing's pretty cool. It's very compact, as you can see, and it has a good looking tanto. I would call this a modified tanto because it's somewhat of a mixture between a Japanese and an American tanto. It has a dual grind. It's hollow here and flat up here. M390 steel, and it is very smooth, very snappy. I really like, we'll get back to the action. I like the construction though. Check this out. It's a sandwich 2-piece construction. So the scales also make up the back spacer. And then the clip is put right in between them, which makes it to where you can flip it to each side. You see you have the screw there and the screw there. They're matching. So you just unscrew that, flip it, and go to this side. And the clip actually works really, well, not actually. It works very, very well. I'm typically not a fan of the 3 cutouts right here because your jeans can kind of skip over them when putting them in and out of the pocket. But the jeans that I did try it in and out of worked just fine. It was very, very smooth. You know, just the construction of this type of clip generally works really, really well. So if you're gonna have a clip that lands on top of the 3 cutouts, this would probably be the best style next to like a wire clip. Detent, not a strong detent, for sure not a strong detent, but I think that that's kind of a good thing, is it has good traction on the flipper tab, lots of leverage on the flipper tab. You can push button it or light switch it, and both of them work equally as good, so it likes both of them. I like how they put the steel lock bar insert on the inside. It does have one, it's just on the inside, so you don't see the screw right there. The accents are, you know, the blue accents, I should say. I like that little pop of color. I imagine there's a bunch of different flavors or different color options. All in all, let's check out this action one more time. It's not drop shutty, but it's a small knife. I can tell that it's going to get even smoother over time. The detent ball just needs to break in. Not that it's gritty or anything like that. I just mean, you know, all detents eventually break in. So the action, really good action, great access to that lock bar, easy to get past the detent ball, very smooth on the drop, very narrow. As far as, you know, the blade inside the handle, which does make for a good carry knife because, you know, it doesn't take up too much room. I can get a full grip on it, but it is somewhat of like a 3.5 finger grip, but I can force the 4 fingers on there. I do feel the clip a bit, but, you know, I wouldn't call it horrible because this isn't a knife that I would be bearing down on long term. Anyways, this is going to be a basic EDC pocket knife. My negatives. The one negative I have really is just the plunge grind and sharpening choil. That'd be like my biggest negative. I wish that they would separate that so I had steel to remove before I hit the plunge grind. I don't want my stone to cut, because when you're on a stone, it's going to cut in all the way up to here. If you want to get all the way back to the end of the edge when you're sharpening, you're going to hit that part right here. You're going to hit that with your stone. So I prefer to, you know, just have a plunge grind that's separated from the edge. All in all, though, very, very cool. The next one is a concept, and this is the Ray, I think, R-E-I, the Ray. It has it has multiple deployments. You have the thumb studs and the flipper tab, and it has a really cool sound, man. This thing is snappy. I like the sound of the lock bar when it engages. You know, I've spoke about that quite a bit on the channel. You know, the way a lock bar engages to me is important because, you know, like if it has a soft lockup, then you're going to be more likely, like if it's slowly opened or maybe you misfired it in a way, the lock bar might not engage, you know, so that can lead to maybe a potential problem. But when the lock bar engages the way this one does, you know for sure, even if it's the slowest opening, that lock bar is going to engage because you can just hear it just clicks right in. Good detent on the, you know, on the opening too. The blade steel, we'll talk about that in a second. The blade steel is 20 CV, and we have a straight clip point blade. I can get a full 4-finger grip on this titanium frame lock with a pretty cool milled titanium pocket clip, and check that out. They put the cutout on the inside for the lock bar relief. Love to see that. The clip has heavy texturing on it, almost file-like. So that's pretty cool. So when it's in your pocket, when you want to pull it out, you're going to have a little bit of grip to help, you know, pull that thing out of the pocket. I'm sure there's multiple different color options, great access to the lock bar. Detent is early enough where you're going to get past it when you disengage it, especially where your finger naturally falls. Flipper tab works very well. They tune the detent so good on this. Typically, I would say this flipper tab is a little low, but it works great because of the detent. Then, coupled with that, you got these thumb studs, and I like that they're large, and you know they definitely snap out there, man. You can really hammer this one out there. Now, as far as nitpicks and negatives go, man, I love that sound. As far as nitpicks and negatives go, one is actually the thumb studs. I love the size. I love the look. I just wish that these were grippier. I know it looks like it's really grippy, but what they do is they must use like a buffing wheel or something around this, because each ring around the thumb stud, this is not sharp. It's almost smooth like, and I've seen that on a lot of their designs, and I don't like it. I want grippier thumb studs. Now, these ones work fine on this knife, so I'm not saying that they are bad, that I'm slipping. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying typically on knives with thumb studs, I want the rings to have some grip to them. These work just fine though. But the plunge grind sharpening tool, again, we are hitting the plunge grind, so especially with a coated blade, when I go to sharpen this, you're gonna really see the smile. So yeah, I wish that the plunge grind was backed up again so that I had room to sharpen it. All in all, man, it's a great size because it's small. Well, not small, it's compact and relatively small, but it's also large enough to where you have a full size knife, you know, in your pocket. The clip is reversible too, and yeah, pretty damn cool. So there you guys go, the Concept Ray or Ride. Now this next one is really cool. I actually got this from Blade Show, and this is fascinating how this works. So this is just a little stand. I'll show you guys how this works. This is just a little stand for you to display it, but that's not what we're so excited about, even though that is, you know, pretty cool. What's exciting about this is that it is a knife, as you can see. It's a knife, but it has a magnet on the inside, making it two knives in one. So you have the magnet there that clicks them together. So now I have two knives, you know, for whatever I want to do. Now, here's the next thing. When you put them together, you can use this like scissors. Because the edge bevel, or because the spine of the knife is a 90-degree spine, it actually has, let me show you, it actually has a little bit of sharpness to it. So when that other edge comes down on top of this, because this is not chamfered or anything like that, it makes for basically the same thing you'd get from scissors. And it works. It definitely works. I know it's not the most versatile pair of scissors, but it's a cool little concept. And, you know, hey, one knife into two. I wouldn't probably prefer to cut with it with both blades put together, but for like utility cuts, you definitely could. And a lot of cutting happens with the a lot of cutting actually is done with just the tip of the blade. So I don't have a sheath for it. That's the only that's the negative I have. I don't have a sheath for it, so I'm not sure how I would carry it. That's the one issue, is no sheath. Also, I should have said this. So you have the magnet here and the magnet here, but there's a lip right here. So that lip, you can see it falls into this lip. You got a male and a female end. So it basically snaps together. So it actually gives you a spot to kind of rotate it on. So it's not just the magnet. So, you know, it helps keep it aligned. Now, the one negative I can say, and maybe there is one and I just didn't get it, but I don't have a sheath. Now, Ocaso did give this to me at Blade Show, so I want to shout them out. They're really awesome. They make knives. Their knives are made out of Taiwan, and they do a really good job. Now, this one, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if he has a sheath for it, and I just don't know about it, or if it's just for a display piece. Either way, it's damn cool. The blade steel, I think, is only like 440C or something, but hey, who cares? You know, I think, you know, it's still a really cool concept. And I think, you know, if you were just going to carry it and use it like a utility blade, you could keep the blades together. And then anytime you got a pair of scissors or, you know, a little slicey knife, because it is a chisel grind. So chisel grinds tend to cut pretty damn well. Now this next one is a big knife. We have a Bowie from Katsu. Katsu does a damn good job, guys. I've had a lot of Katsus, and when I first heard of them or whatever, I honestly didn't have the best expectations, but after having so many of them in my collection, I can confidently say they do a really good job, like a damn good job. This is a Bowie that has a very robust blade. This is definitely a tough use chopping style knife. It kind of leans forward. I love this handle. This is a great handle, almost like an angled coffin shaped handle in a way. Maybe not quite coffin shaped, but it's very, 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 very comfortable. And you can choke up right there if you need to do some feather sticking or whatever. The sheath, great sheath. No rattle, no tap whatsoever. Great push-off point. It has the tech lock, so you can spin this and rotate this around. You have a spot to put a ferro rod. I don't think it came with a ferro rod, though, no. So you can put your own ferro rod through there if you want to carry a ferro rod, but really good sheath. I love tech locks. They're my favorite way to carry a sheath. And this knife, the one issue I have is that it's AUS 8 steel and it's $120. I don't mind that it's $120, but I wish it was at the very least, like a 14C or a Nitro V for the price. It's a big hunk of AUS 8, don't get me wrong. And maybe this might be better for some people. I know it'd be very easy to sharpen. You're not generally looking for maximum edge retention with something like this. You're looking for more toughness, and the geometry alone provides the toughness on this one. Like I said, it's nice and thick. This spine right here can definitely strike a ferro rod. It is definitely sharp enough to do that. And then up here you couldn't, because, you know, it's obviously chamfered and everything. You do have a lanyard post back there. Actually, a lanyard hole and one right there for you to, you know, put a thing on your wrist so you doesn't slip out of your hand. The parts are fit together extremely, extremely well. This is very smooth. I love this micarta, or sorry, called it everything but what it is. I like the G10. It's very smooth, but because it's got this thick robustness to it that kind of narrows out exactly how a handle should be, that's what makes this thing, you know, not slippery. Because typically you would look at this and say, that's going to be too slick. It's going to be smooth. Not with this shape. It makes it to where you can squeeze the life out of this very comfortably. So I would love to see this one in some micartas and some different handle materials. That'd be really cool. But AUS 8 steel, man, this would be awesome in, I mean, they could have done their SLD Magic, which is a steel that they use a lot. I think the best would be like a 14C, Nitro V, a crew wear, something like that. Something that's just extremely tough. 3V would probably be like the best. But the price obviously would go up. But for the price of $120, I don't think it's too bad. I do think it's a little bit high priced. I wish it was Nitro V or 14C for that price, because I think that one, you'd have the toughness that you want, even though the geometry has the toughness. You could take the most delicate steel. With this geometry, it's going to be tough. But that would increase edge retention, even though that's not important here. But that does play a part still, you know, even though we're not using this for breaking down EDC stuff. You know, the edge, you still want to stay nice and sharp for as long as possible. But like I said, the toughness and impact is what's going to be most important with this. And it has all of that because of the geometry. So there you guys go. If you like this type of content, I'm going to put some cards up on the screen for you to click on. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.